I'm not. I mean,
to
maybe
each
we
his
are,
own.
but you
Yeah,
got to
could
stay.
be.
You know, stay tuned for Face. We're not releasing all the info. I'm just saying that we're doing solar and nukes, but we, we love geothermal.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of have our like canoes buried underground so we can keep their cells cool. So it's kind of like a low tech geothermal.
yeah, yeah. Maybe you've got some hopium that you can mine there too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So listen, thanks for joining us here. We'll see how we go here over the next hour. Certainly, all the listeners. Let me have a conversation here with Tom, and then we'll be glad to bring a few folks up on stage, and they can chime in, ask questions, give comments, and stuff like that. That would be great.
Cool.
Yeah, and so to pick up on another 1970s trope, I guess. Space is the final frontier, as we all know. And you, sir, may be Captain Kirk, I guess, because you've been on kind of a multi-year mission here to explore kind of new ways to bring art to the world, I suppose. So obviously that mission to boldly go has now led you into the NFT space. But probably a lot of people on this call have no idea what we're talking about from a space perspective at all. So take us back to the early 2000s and tell us what this intersection between space and art is and how it all got started.
Wow. Thanks, Jonas. My name is Tom Sachs, and for those of you just tuning in, I'm here with Charlie Koss and Aram Shah from my team, and together we make up the Rocket Factory. In the early 2000s, if you don't know what we're about, is we make sculpture. World famous artist. We've exhibited in the best art galleries and museums around the world for the past 30 years. And in 2007, we built a space program from scratch and exhibited it in a gallery in Beverly Hills called Gagosian Gallery, which is like a super prestigious place. And we made a lunar module from scratch and a mission control, all full size, and went to the moon. We subsequently done 3 more missions. We just set up our one in Hamburg, Germany at Dijksterhallen called Rare Earths, which is a pretty elaborate project. And if you want to learn more, go to Tom Sachs' Instagram or just Google it. You can see, or go to iTunes and watch a space program about our Mars mission from 2012. The sort of the we have a real space program, but the important thing to remember is that and our space program is called NASA, but the difference between our space program and the other one that we most of us Americans pay taxes to support is what they do with kerosene and titanium. We use cardboard and duct tape. So we realize all the same details to an extreme degree, but with the resources that are available to us. I don't really call this performance art. We say it's a demonstration of our space program systems, and by taking it that seriously, we develop an authentic degree of extreme detail. Now, I'm not even sure I really am interested in the word art related to any of this, although I think it's understood in the context of the art world. I'm really interested in experiences, and in that capacity, I think that the sculptures we do are no different from the NFT projects that we do. Like, I don't really care what you call it. It's just a thing, and we're consistent with our rules. We're consistent with the guidelines and promises and ideas that we commit to in the white paper. And if you want to call it art, that's fine. We just commit to the idea. And its extreme degree of execution. That's our reward.
Yeah, awesome. You definitely can go far in life with a good roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
And so this is thrown me on an angle here related to experiences. I think I'll put that one away and save that just for a little later in the conversation here. But I think that's really important. One of the experiences that you've shared in videos from the early 2000s is a space camp. Is that still going on with your team? Do you still get trained up in order to run these experiences?
Absolutely. We have a physical fitness um, program routine. It's called Space Camp. It's always changing. So the program of 2012 is a little different from the one of 2021, but it is still always based on the 5 essential exercises, which is a deadlift, a lunge, a pull up, and an ab wheel, and a put and a push up, and different modifications of those. Recently, we've been using medicine balls, which we call planets, for those activities.
Mm-hmm.
But we are very committed to this. We are a professional athletic team. Our sport is sculpture, and we do a lot of training to support it. We even
So
have our own like equipment and apparel collection that we rock when we wear this stuff.
yeah, so when somebody goes to a one of your performances, uh, one of your experiences that they're going to attend for Rare Earth, for example, here in Germany, they're going to watch you do what?
Well, so we don't say performance, we say live demonstration of our
Demonstration,
space
sure.
program systems. And we even have a
Yep.
swear jar. If not you, but if any one of us say performance, you have to put it €1 in the swear jar. The swear jar's name is Leatherface. And what we do is we demonstrate all of our systems. So we do have a launch protocol, landing protocol. The astronauts get suited up in spacesuits. They do an extravehicular activity where they like do mining on other worlds. They bring those elements back. They sometimes even refine those materials and extract the gold from them. Um, and all this stuff is in real time. Our spacesuits are sealed, so they have air being pumped into them. They're really hot, so they've got liquid cooling garments. Everything's done to a really extreme degree of detail. And I said it before, but I'll say it again. Like, our reward is realizing all those details. In fact, I had a a conversation with Buzz Aldrin, the second guy to walk on the moon, and I said, and I was so starstruck because it's kind of an achievement. And I didn't know what to ask him, so I nerdlishly asked him, "Hey Buzz, how do you deal with the condensation side of the space helmet?" And he said, "Tom, your space program isn't real. Just cut a hole in the back of the helmet, and air can flow freely." And so here I was like arguing with this guy, um, and it was a little like, I don't know if you ever saw the original Ali G, when Ali G interviews Buzz Aldrin, and he says, how does it feel to be this second guy on the moon to do the moonwalk after Louis Armstrong? and
Right.
and but I but in the sense, I think what made Ali G's character so compelling is that it never broke it. He kept it real for him. And anyway, sorry about the tangent, but here I was confronted by this guy who walked on the other moon, and I realized in that moment that my space program, or our space program, is just as real. It's like the martial artist who spends his life training and never fought in a street fight, and one day he was confronted in a dark alley by 5 assailants, and he knew how to disarm all of them, but instead he ran away because he knew that that was the safest bet and it wouldn't hurt any of them. And on his deathbed, he realized that he was a great martial artist, but he never threw a punch in anger or in violence. And he realized that he had spent his life as a student. And that's the
Mm.
greatest sort of achievement, because if we could do anything, I mean, as artists, our job is to advertise, is to educate and entertain ourselves so that we can make better art. And that's what a student does.
So, how does one translate that into NFTs?
Well, with the Rocket Factory, we built, and I want to give Charlie and Aram a chance to speak a little bit, because it really is the three of us. We built an authentic rocket factory from scratch, where we picked 30 brands that represented who we are, as a studio. These are the brands of the studio. Um, and we gave the public the opportunity to make rockets of their own choosing, whether that was perfect rockets or Franken rockets. And the goal was to build a structure that allowed enough flexibility for people to express themselves. I mean, what it meant for us in this space was a couple of things that are special to our project. One is we run our own marketplace because we felt it was very important to tell the story the way we do. And of course, OpenSea is great and has some virtues that are in some ways better than our marketplace. But we have things in our marketplace that OpenSea can never compete with. Like, it's our storytelling, and we have our videos, and there's opportunities to view the entire collection there in one picture. So that was really important. And we also sort of invented with NFT studios the possibility of combining 3 NFTs, burning them, and creating one. But I think most meaningfully, the thing that Rocket Factory does is that every time you build a rocket and assemble it and select launch, we build a physical rocket in plywood space. We don't say real space, we say plywood space. And we launch it. And then you have the choice of whether it gets sent to you in a glass vitrine or donated to the museum or put through the shredder. So we're really trying to make sure that there's real engagement, that this thing is real. And by real, I think crypto space is as real as plywood space. It's just a different kind of real.
There was a tweet from O'Shiny the other day that I saw you retweeted, and let me read it. He said,
"The best. He's the best.
Yeah,
he's the best. You guys should all be following O'Shiny. He is the best tweeter." Sorry.
Yeah. He said the following. He said, "I see so many people focusing on the results of innovation instead of innovation itself. This is like focusing on the Model T as opposed to the production line from where it came, which modernized industry forever. NFTs are a new form of production and distribution, not a JPEG."
Yeah. I mean, I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think enough said. I mean, that's a great quote.
Yeah. So like Shiny's pointing out, and I think, which ties to exactly what you said about your space exploration, which is it's a journey. It's an experience. It's not about a physical or even a digital item at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very materialistic. I love stuff. I spend a lot of money on materials and equipment, and things flow through me because I'm a maker. My priority is making sculpture, and I love every material. I love gold and I love plywood, and it's sort of everything in between. And I love the materials and tools that it takes to process them, and the evidence that comes from making. But it is really all about the process. Like, I'm extremely materialistic, but I don't really. No one really owns anything. It just kind of passes through you on the way to the junkyard.
How did the Rocket Factory acquire kind of the knowledge to build the production line that is, NFT minting, NFT combining and burning, and whatnot?
Well, Aaron, why don't you?
No, I mean, I was gonna say, like, I think it just came about so authentically from how Tom approaches sculpture already. So it comes from process. It comes from people getting to participate in the making of it and the experience of it. And I think that's what makes it such a great reflection of the studio's values and ethics. And I think that's how we got to where we're at with it, is we stayed true to the things that we've already been building on at the studio and thought of how we bring that in a really authentic way to this new space that we really admire.
Yeah, I think it just occurs to me that, like, you can't get away with just, chewing gum, duct tape, and cardboard when you're building a NFT marketplace, for example, right? So, the Sachs team has to evolve in the tools that it has, that it brings to the table. It has to, dive deeper into the same technology that NASA's using to launch rockets, right? It's got to start programming stuff, and maybe you've been doing that all along, but it's a big leap forward for you guys on this kind of project.
Yeah, and I also, like, just to be clear, over 6 months ago when we started working on this, I was like the 11th hour, about to launch a iPad drawing on Foundation, and my buddy Jeff said, who's been a big influence on this project, why don't you take a look a little more closely at the attributes of CryptoPunks and how it works? And I really owe him for that moment. And in that, I saw, oh yeah, we can't just post an iPad drawing. Not there's anything wrong with posting an iPad drawing on Foundation. I think it's awesome, and I hope to do that again someday. But it occurred to me that we couldn't just go into this space doing something like that. Like, we had to kind of make a whole marketplace and a whole system, and like contribute. I didn't want to just like cash out or cash in or whatever it's called into this space. I wanted to make a real contribution and move it forward. And that's why those three things: building our own marketplace, it is like a real like channel for the studio, and making all the videos, and doing all the white papers, the idea of 3 into 1, and making the physical rockets was just as a way of, contributing to this awesome community, which I'm so stoked to be part of, and learning along the way. Everything that we learned, especially from our developers at NFT Studios, who were and continue to be our educators in this space, and learning how to do stuff, like having arguments about how to do things the crypto way it's an education every step of the way. And I'm like really excited about phase 2, which I can't speak too much about because you just have to like tune in and see it. But we like are continuing to grow this, and one of the things that I've been learning about this space is how quickly it moves, and people, I could tell by the Discord chats, like want more action. And like I said in Discord in the AMA last week, and I'll say it again here, we will Paul Masson shall serve no wine before it's time. In other words, we're doing awesome work. I'm really into it, and it simply takes time to do great stuff, and it can only be at this pace. I think if I was a market analyst, I would tell a client like me, you got to come out with something every 3 days if you want to really keep the attention of the community. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not as important as simply doing good work and letting it come out when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure. We were having that chat on another Discord, which is appreciate your holders, your patrons here. But if you just pay attention to everything they say, you'll never actually get to do something great. Yeah. And this space is moving so quickly. Just swing back around when it's the right time. But let's talk a little bit about the stats on Rocket Factory so far, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at the marketplace. I saw that this original collection that you launched was 3,000 total pieces, if I'm not mistaken. And there are 3 different types of pieces. So can you explain what the NFTs are that people have been purchasing? And
sure.
And yeah.
So it's 3,000 pieces, 1,000 nose cones, 1,000 bodies, 1,000 tail assemblies, and you assemble one of each, and you could. And those parts are in 30 different brands like Budweiser and Chanel and Apple and Yoda and Coke and Trojan and Snickers and Lisa Simpson and Brian Griffin and a bunch of others. And you can assemble 3 of a kind, like a perfect rocket, like 3 Campbell soups, or you could have a Franken, where you'd have like a Chanel nose cone or a sweet and low body, and a I'm trying to do one that I haven't said yet, a Budweiser tail assembly. So either are valid, and you decide. And then once it's been assembled, a name is assigned to it by the studio, and so each one has its own name. And then you have a choice, like I said before, to to launch and how you want the recovered rocket to be dealt with.
And only when you launch is a physical rocket created. Up until then, it's the digital rocket that you assembled. And I would also say for the 3,000 parts, the 30 brands are on like a varying scale of rarity, from one of ones all the way to like more common brands. But I think what's really interesting about this project is, yeah, we've got that rarity in place for these 3,000 components when they come out, but the ways in which the rockets are being combined and created, it's like the community, the component holders kind of are creating like what the rarity of this project would look like. We thought everyone would be only about perfect rockets, but Franken rockets are so cool. Like,
and they're even more rare, really, if you think about it, because they're one of a kind.
Potentially, yeah, depending on the combination you end up landing with.
And I saw that there was 59 Franken rockets that have been built so far, according to OpenSea, I think, and almost 400 perfect rockets. So I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, we had endless debates like up till 3 a.m. fighting over like we were gonna have it be only you could only do perfects, and we Charlie, maybe you want to speak to this, but we fought tooth and nail. Do you remember? I think it was.
I mean, yeah, I was always the strongest advocate, I feel like, for the Franken rockets because.
Thank you, Charlie.
And I don't know if we ever got to the point where we weren't going to allow them, but we were always, I mean, we just never knew what people's preferences were going to be. And to me, it was always about the Franken rockets. I always wanted it to be a reflection of who I was. And so during the development of the project, I was always trying to think of like formulating a self-portrait of myself through these brands. And I felt like other people would resonate with that sort of thinking. And so, you know, for me, it was always like a McDonald's nose cone and a Marlboro body and a Budweiser tail, because that is pretty much, if you are what you eat. But I you know, it was almost impossible for us to imagine what people's preferences were going to be. And it was an incredible, you know, debate that we never settled. And it still is today surprising, you know, what people are deciding. And every time a rocket's minted and we see it come across, it's always fresh and interesting. And I think there's validity to both. I think some perfect rockets and some Franken rockets are a cut above the rest. And I don't know. It's just very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
One other component I would just be amiss to leave it out would be the stickers. So there are 100 stickers with varying scale of rarity that are assigned to certain components. Out of the 3,000 components, 100 of them have stickers.
Yes,
and that's another form of rarity. And of course, the rarer, there are more. There are the more common parts have more stickers, and the more rare parts have fewer stickers. So it's like an inverse curve.
But do rare rockets go higher in the sky?
Maybe in our minds.
So let's talk about money here for a minute, because I guess that's why we're all here, right?
Yeah. No, that's not why we're all here.
Sorry, can you bleep that out, please, editor? Thank you.
Some of us are here. Some of us are here for that money, and we respect those people.
All right, so we're not here for the art either, but 10,600 ETH is what has transacted on the secondary market in people buying and flipping and selling these 3,000 pieces or whole rockets or whatever. That's what, yesterday that was $32 million worth of transaction volume, and I guess that's significantly less today. And you guys are charging 10% royalties on every one of those flips, so that's actually some cheddar there to keep the rocket factory in business, I guess. How does it feel to have your art treated as currency? no offense to Damien Hirst on that.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, in the case of this project, I love it because it means that people are involved and engaged. I remember when I'm used to having my art bought and sold. I've been making art professionally for over 30 years, and a lot of the things that I've made that have sold have wound up at auction, where I've never received any percentage whatsoever of their resale. And it's been a lot of movement in the auction marketplace. You can look it up. And I always felt kind of heartbroken when someone sold my art for which I made using blood, and they sold it for money, that they liked money more than my art. I was always really insulted by that. And I remember even once confronting a collector saying, if you like money more than my art, like, we can't be friends anymore. And I remember like having this breakup, and I felt kind of bad later because I'm sure it was like, so either death, divorce, or whatever. I think it's death and divorce are the only two reasons, or taxes or whatever. But I'm sure he had his reasons, and I kind of felt bad about being a dick, but not really, because fuck him. But in this case, I'm more like psyched because this market's all about trade. Trade's an important part of what this project's about, swapping parts and building. And that there is that 10% integrated means that we can spend money building these 3D rockets, launching them, having events like the one we're going to have next week in Paris. It's going to be epic. And like, that's I think it's part of this, and it's really changed my whole perspective on everything. I mean, I still like each one of these. If you look, they're so meticulously hand painted. It kills me. Like, we can do so few in a day, and but I love it, and it's going to be great when we spend many hours painting one of these rockets, and someone puts it in the shredder. That's like a lucky rocket.
Yeah, the ones that get caught in trees and never get recovered. Have you not recovered any yet?
No, we're very careful. These things are expensive. People are putting a lot of work into making them. People are putting a lot of money into launching them. I'm going for 100% recovery. I don't want to lose any. I mean, we've had to like break tree branches off and all kinds of stuff.
But maybe, Tom, you could explain to those who don't know, after your rocket is recovered, if it's recovered, you have 3 options of what you can do with that rocket.
And I was just going to say, before you explain that, can you just explain what it actually means to launch a rocket? I mean, I grew up in the SDs era, but probably a lot of people on here have no idea what that's about.
Yeah, so it's a model rocket. It's about 12 inches long, and there's a little solid rocket fuel motor that's ignited with electricity. The rocket launches a couple hundred feet up into the air with like flames coming out of it. A reverse charge happens that shoots a parachute out, and the rocket floats gently to the ground. Sometimes there are other things that happen, like wind, or it gets caught in a tree or whatever.
Or parachute
doesn't deploy. Like, things go wrong. But this is a thing that we studied in science. It's physics. It's rocketry, and we use A rockets, but they go all the way to B's and C's and D's and E's and F's, and there's this rocket scale that goes all the way and connects seamlessly to intercontinental ballistic missiles. So if you look it up online, you can see that it starts with these and it goes all the way to nukes and sort of everything in between.
Wait, are you telling us what's happening in Spain here now? Like, is this?
That laughter is concealing the truth.
Oh shit! He figured it out. Yeah. So then, as Aaron's saying, and then what happens after it's recovered?
So yeah.
So after it's recovered, you are faced with 3 choices. Choice number 1, you keep it for yourself. Recovered or not, the rocket, the launch pad that it launched off of It has a burn mark on it. It has this like plexi museum glass box around it. So with the rocket or without the rocket, if the rocket is not recovered, you can choose to have that at home in your mantle. Deal with it as you will. If you resell that NFT, it is now your burden what you do with that physical rocket. That's option one, keep it. Option two, you donate it to the museum, which is a cabinet that we're putting together that will be filled with 100 rockets. And those 100 rockets we will place into some sort of public collection where you, your friends, and anyone else can go visit and look at that rocket. But you just can't have it at home then. But it lives on in posterity, potentially forever. Or the third one is you throw it in the shredder. You don't have to deal with it physically. The NFT, of course, is still yours. It can be traded. You can do whatever you want with the NFT, but the physical rocket is shredded.
And then we haven't done that yet, but maybe we'll attach the video of the shredding to the NFT. I think yeah, that'll be fun.
Can you say what kind of shredder you're going to use? Hey Tom, it's Mike. Can
Mike,
you say the shredder?
Yeah, so
is it going to be a big industrial one?
So I can't remember the name of the. You've seen those videos on YouTube where they shred like everything, like even bowling balls. That you know what I'm talking about, the really good industrial shredders.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. But the thing about those is they're really big, and I want to get one that's like the largest thing you could put in is a laptop, specifically for shredding laptops, so that it's like kind of a tabletop thing. And I've like spoken to a couple of companies that make them, and the functionality that I want is usually reserved for things that are much, much bigger, like a barbecue or like a car tire or something like that. So we're building one custom. And but it'll be cool. Like, you know, keep hands away.
You could reach out to the Banksy team on that, maybe.
No, the bank. I mean, I think that what Banksy did was funny, but it's like that was like a slim thing specifically for shredding that
fair.
But this is something like you couldn't put a laptop through that shredder. We have one of those shredders. We use it. That's our human resources file in the office.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess what I'm curious now to explore a little bit, and Mike, welcome up on stage, and feel free to chime in with any additional questions or
I think it's called a knuckle shredder, Mike. I got to find out the name of it, but like, believe me, it's going to be a project and a sick thing.
I'm going to go shopping for one for Max Power.
Okay, well, we can add that to our ongoing list of things to develop together, because I think this is a real opportunity for something gnarly. Like, you know, one of my greatest memories is my grandfather was a doctor was sawing golf balls in half and seeing all the layers, and that was like one of my early build experiences, was wrecking stuff. So, and I noticed it with my 4-year-old, like, little kids love to smash shit because they really just want to affect change, and they're not dexterous enough to make yet. So destroying is the beginning of making.
They also love to flush mommy's jewelry down the toilet, so be careful. Yeah, so let's talk about kind of the bigger picture of space here. And I'm curious, do you want to actually go to space yourself?
Well, Earth is like a big, warm, wet kiss. It is the most welcoming place for life. The top of the highest mountain, bottom of the deepest sea is more hospitable than anywhere on Mars. So, although I'm curious, I'm really more interested in exploring this world and the all it has to offer. That said, I am an astronaut selection for a space mission with SpaceX and Dear Moon that I'm in sort of final selection stages, so I might have to go. And I'm not sure if I will or not, but I do think it's great that they're trying to send artists, because artists are great storytellers, and if I don't go, who will speak for Earth?
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw your Dear Moon submission there that you had on your website. I was really excited about that. I think the Inspiration 4 mission that just completed last week, should give us all a lot of confidence in what SpaceX is doing there. It's pretty amazing.
I hope so. I just hope that they get it together and realize that we're doing this to save Earth, not just to indulge in
not just to leave.
We don't go to other worlds because we fucked up this one or are looking for a new home. We go so we can better understand the resources here on Earth.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. One of the things I was thinking about is that the space program itself, NASA, SpaceX, these are massively large, centrally controlled entities that really represent almost like the 20th century, the manufacturing line, the peak centralization of society. Like probably the moon mission was peak centralization for all of humanity. More people working on more things in more coordinated effort. And then when I enjoy my time here in crypto, it's all about decentralization, right? It's about having a small team of a few people who can outcompete a large investment bank, for example, or a small group of artists can sell 10,000 pieces for $50 million, and whatnot. And so I'm wondering, do you have any perspective on where we're going, kind of as society here, where we've come from the 20th century and we grew up on mass centralization, but now we're trying to decentralize things, and how do you think that's going to affect us as humans here and our opportunities, if you have an opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm in this space, because I believe in decentralization. I mean, fuck Deutsche Bank. Really. Let's take this back and make it for us. Let's us control it. And I think the best way that I can contribute is by doing my art in this space and making it that more people are engaged, that my constituency, the people that are interested in Tom Sachs' studio, are engaged in this space. And we are bringing art world people into this space. And that is one little step. And I think that's all we can do. If we believe in this space, let's just do projects within it. And then it will grow and it will become real. And we'll have decentralized banking.
Yeah. Yeah. And the notion of, objects, non-fungible objects being treated as the premium currency of the realm is that's a real throwback to kind of our agrarian days, when all we did was trade stuff and we didn't have a currency, that was minted by the king or whatever. And I think it's really where we're headed as well. I think it's going to be really interesting.
I do too. I mean, I think it's really weird that art of all things is leading it. That's boggling to me, but whatever, that's the situation we're in. So let's run with it. I mean, this is the area that we're really good at art. And so I just view this as another medium, like ceramic or oil paint or steel or NFTs.
Yeah. And going back to what you said at the very beginning, where you said that you're really interested in experiences, right? I feel like as we move more and more into the digital world, we care less and less about the physical things that we own. I'm looking at a wall full of books that I've collected over the years here, and I haven't pulled any of them off the shelves in quite a while. I'll read on my Kindle maybe, but there they sit. And I think that, thinking about kind of virtual reality and augmented reality goggles that are coming and all this stuff, we're going to really, over the next couple decades, going to move to a world where it is almost all going to be about digital things and experiencing those digital things. And that's where all the value is going to accrue.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, the people that I've met in the past few years who are more and more engaged in in crypto space and digital space are like really non-materialistic. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how many people are donating rockets or opting to have them shredded versus acquiring the physical. And I'm really impressed because they just want things. And I remember once I was like years ago, like renting a beach house in Montauk and with a friend, and it was like preposterously expensive. And I was like, I don't know, man, should I buy a Rolex or rent this beach house with you for the summer because it's the same amount of money? And he's like, you're just going to lose the Rolex, but you'll never forget the memories that we had together. And he was totally right. And I thought that was like a very beautiful concept. And I mean, like, stuff. I mean, that's why I wear a Casio DW5600 forever. But yeah, experiences are everything.
Yeah, cool. So let's let some folks experience the conversation here.
Yeah.
If anybody would like to join us up on stage and ask some questions or make some comments, we'll welcome you for the next 15 minutes or so. Mike, anything you want to share in the interim here? I'm going to invite a few people up.
Two quick questions, Tom. You can take one or both. So first, I'm sure a lot of people like me really want to get a rocket in the museum cabinet. Are there only 100 slots and that's it? Or what if 120 people want to do that? How are you thinking about it? And second, Miami Vice is like the one brand that was super cool, but like wasn't like is consistent with things you've done before. I'm wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah. Well, two things. So with a rocket cabinet, I want to do. We haven't kind of totally decided yet. Like, I think let's see what happens at the end of 100 cabinets. I could see doing other cabinets that are smaller, but we just want to make sure that we're consistent with the promises that we've made to our white paper. If we feel that we can do another one and be consistent, like, it's a legal document, so I want to keep integrity with that, but I could see doing other cabinets. Aram, you and I were discussing this, so like stay tuned for that. I would like to do other. Let's see what happens. Let's fill this cabinet first.
Yeah, let's fill this cabinet. And I think, we're always listening to the community, and to be it in the form of our Twitter or our Discord. And if the community largely wants to see these things in a public arena, maybe yours doesn't end up in the same collection as the first 100, but we're definitely exploring ways in which we feel like the community would benefit and be open to. That if more people are interested in keeping these things in public collections, that we figure out how to do that.
Sweet.
Go ahead. But I want to. Okay, so if we're good on that, and like stay tuned, because there's stuff we want this project to keep rolling, and not just with phase 2 and 3, but with the physical stuff. Because again, I draw no distinction between things that are in plywood space or in virtual space or in the metaverse or whatever. I think they're both real. They're just different kinds of real. Miami Vice is a very important brand to the studio for so many reasons. I'll just name a few. It was the first TV show that was broadcast in stereo, and had cool music, and it was like a super innovative show where it was the first time that the good guys had silver guns in the entire history of cinema and TV. Always the bad guys have silver guns and the good guys had black guns. And Sonny Crockett had a Bren 10, which is a super weird 10 millimeter gun, and drove a white Ferrari Testarossa Monoposto, which is like super rare, exotic, with like cocaine white exterior, beige interior. And they were, I think I said, did I say already that they wore Armani suits? And who was it? Mike Mann? Was it Michael Mann or some incredible DP did that? Charlie, it was just the coolest show. So, but the real reason we used Miami Vice was because of the colors of the logo. And we spent months figuring out, making sure that everything looked good with everything else, that there was no bad combination. And that logo is just like the best. Perfect.
Okay, but I just want to know, who is Purple's brand ambassador, because whoever that is, that guy really figured out how to get into your shop there, right?
Yeah, purple is like the king of colors, and it's the color of kings, I should say, and it's very hard to do it right.
And it's forbidden.
It's forbidden in the studio, not because there's anything wrong with purple, but it's so hard to get it right that I don't want anyone fucking around with purple. It's like really only for the Lakers and for like the Kings of New Orleans.
And you know who else it's for? It's also for crypto punks that have purple hats, including Veg Surfer, who's up here on stage with us, who has a question for you.
Cool. All right.
Oh yeah. Thank you for that beautiful segue. Yeah, and Tom, I came to your launch event. That was very, very cool.
Oh, awesome.
In my opinion, it was like the most ambitious sort of real world NFT event. So that was very cool.
Stay tuned for more. Meet us in Paris for part 2.
Oh, cool. So when it first came out, there was, people were minting, and there was some concern of like, well, if these brands haven't signed on, this could be a rug. We could get, copyright stuff. But then I think OpenSea like said they were investigating it, and then they didn't take it down. So that led a lot of us to believe that you sort of had partnerships with all these brands. Can you talk about that? Like how you went about doing that, and was that easy, or was that a hard sell on a lot of these brands?
Yeah, so I've been making work with brands for 30 years. So in legal terms, it's called parody. So in other words, like not parody, but parity with a T. And it just means that I've been making McDonald's sculptures for 25, 30 years. So if McDonald's were to come after me in court, it would be like, what took you so long? These have been exhibited all over the world. So for about half of the
Did we lose Tom? Can you guys hear me?
Brands in the
no, I can't hear Tom. There you come.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're just back. You just mentioned McDonald's. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm sorry. So a phone call was coming and it rubbed over. So I've been making sculptures with McDonald's for 25, 30 years, and if they came after me in court, it would the judge would argue for, or the defense would argue for parody, meaning what took you so long to come after me, right? So so for about half the brands, I've been making things with Chanel and McDonald's and NASA, Hermes and Tiffany. So many of those brands have been working with, so it's already kind of we have existing relationships, so to speak, even if we don't have formal relationships. And then a lot of the other brands are kind of I don't know. I sort of it would take the cues from those first ones. It wouldn't like look good for them. And then some of the brands like Budweiser, for example, have just hopped right on board. They bought a rocket and are using it for their Twitter avatar. And when they tweeted about it, they tweeted just 3 rockets emojis, and it was like their biggest tweet of all time or something in their history, something crazy like that, just because people are just psyched about it. So I think I have a lot of experience with intellectual property and how to sort of bend the limits of the rules and the law and perception. That's kind of the area of expertise that the studio maybe leads in globally. I think there have been a lot of sort of trends in fashion and consumerism that have been derived from some of the things that we've developed years ago. So it's like I would say that it's pretty consistent with the way we've been working for a while.
Sweet.
And maybe unlike other artists who use brands, we're particularly equipped to deal with the conflicts and ideas that arise, and we're always really careful to use all the brands we do with respect to them.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was so great that, you know, like Tom said, Budweiser heard about us and came to us instead of us having gone to them. And I mean, the classic Budweiser can is just the only beer can Tom's just allowed in the studio for 30 years. So it all comes from a really authentic place. And I think that, you know, Tom is able to back it up. He's been doing it long enough.
And so Cup of Noodles, for example, like there were like 10,000 Cup of Noodles in our exhibition in Hamburg. They're just like, they just gave us 10,000 cup noodles, and that's just like set up there as like a wall. So we're always messing with brands, and generally they're into it.
Cool. And then one more just like logistical question, just because I can't wrap my head around it. So if you have a rocket, a perfect rocket or a Franken rocket, and you want to donate it to that 100 thing, do you have to burn the NFT, or do you always keep the NFT?
No, they're you know, we really tried to bond them together where I really wanted that to be the case, but in the end it was too complicated to force people to track a physical object. So in a sense, as much as conceptually they're linked, they're physically not. So if you sell your NFT, you know, the rocket goes to the first person who launches it. And if you decide to donate it or have it shredded, it doesn't change the ownership of the NFT. The NFT can still be traded endlessly.
We don't force you to pick.
Yeah.
You're not going to do something like Damien Hirst forces.
No, I mean, I think that's an interesting project but that project's really only about that choice. I mean, that's the one choice you have. I guess the third choice is you could buy two. You could have one of each or something. But
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so Sharon has joined us on stage. Sharon, do you have a question? Sharon is on mute at the moment.
Yeah.
If anybody else would like to chime in, have a question or whatnot, just go ahead and request to speak, and I'll bring you up on stage. Only got a couple minutes left. Sharon, last call. Nope. All right, and Mike, you've been around this project for a while, and you're a member in Flamingo along with myself. Kind of what's been your impression of it from the collector's view? You know, we collect a lot of NFTs. Where does the Rocket Factory fall into that?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of the cooler projects. I think first, like that you can actually do something with it, and the attachment to the physical. Like obviously there are others. I think this is the coolest physical thing so far to be attached to an NFT, and it's also just a lot more fun than a lot of things. So everyone I've talked to is either kind of jealous or FOMO that they didn't get them on day one, or talking about what to do with them. So I think it's been a lot of fun and super cool.
Yeah, well, for those of you who are jealous, you can still pick up a Brian body or a Trojan tail assembly for 2.99 ETH on OpenSea today. So get to it.
Yeah, get involved because phase 2 is coming, and you're going to need to have a rocket if you want to participate.
There you go. Oh man, there goes the market. Cool. Jack Laz has joined us on stage. Jack, you got a question?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me. Just a quick question for Tom. My apologies if you answered this previously, but as you kind of look out at the NFT ecosystem and landscape, what are some cool projects that you personally like or find interesting?
Oh, that has not been asked, but that's a great question, Jack. Ape to Ape, I would say that I love apes. My ape's the best ape because he is Pablo Picasso. So I've enjoyed the community around that. My absolute favorite is Zen Bonsai NFT because I'm into the tea ceremony and I just love the complexity of the attributes and how well it's rendered. And I think that I don't know if it's like a good investment or not, but I think it's just fun to play around with it. Even if you don't own it, I think it's good to play with the attributes and hunt. But without a doubt, CryptoPunks is still worth looking at always because of the attributes. And really, like Mike showed me CryptoPunks months ago, but it wasn't until I really dug into the attributes that I understood its connection with the work of Saul LeWitt, that sort of one of the lead figures in the conceptual art movement, because his project from 1974, Incomplete Open Cubes, which was like a sort of a drawing of all the different permutations of a cube with one part missing or more than one part missing. And when I saw CryptoPunks in the light of Incomplete Open Cubes, I saw a work of art that could only exist with a computer, with 10,000 different punks with many more possible permutations. I don't know if anyone's calculated how many CryptoPunks are possible with all of the attributes that exist. I'd be curious to know what that number is. I'm sure it's way more than 10,000. It's a project that could only be viewed as a computer. And the reason why I'm interested in this space is because we're doing things that you can only do with a computer. Even in my project, which is much, much smaller, you couldn't really view all those graphically. It would just be too big. We did it. We laid it out. It's just like too big of a graphic. It's annoying. It would be the size of like the side of a building if you wanted it to be legible. But by searching and by creating fields and sorting mechanisms, it's something that I could relate to. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, and looking forward to assembling my own rocket here soon. So appreciate it.
Oh, awesome, Jag. Yeah, cool. Get involved. Hey, if anyone knows how many possible CryptoPunks are out there, please let me know. I'm just curious. I haven't done the math. I know I can do it too.
You got it. Okay, so here we are. We're an hour into this conversation, and I think we probably could go on for longer, but let's wrap it up. Thank you, Tom, for your time here today, for you and your team. Appreciate everybody joining us here on this Flamingo Friday. And any last words, Tom, you want to share?
Well, I just really want to say thanks, Mike, and thank you, Jonas, for hosting this. You're a great host. It's great talking to you. Love what you guys are doing in Flamingo. And I would just say stay tuned, read our white papers, come launch with us in Paris, and get ready for phase 2.
Awesome. Okay, thanks everybody for joining. We'll see you next Friday with another Flamingo Friday. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.